From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. 3 American members of medical missions have chosen to stay in Gaza until Israel permits replacement humanitarian workers. They're part of a group of 20 American, British, and other nationalities medical workers from the European hospital in Khan Yunis who are being evacuated from Gaza. Hindered by the closure of the Rafah border crossing, these workers are trapped in Gaza, unable to rotate out as scheduled. Dr. Adam Hamawi, a New Jersey doctor and Army veteran, is amongst those refusing to leave, citing a commitment to his patients and American values. The medical workers' departure would leave a burden on the overworked Palestinian colleagues and could endanger the hospital in the face of potential Israeli attacks. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth, whose life was saved by Hamawi in Iraq, has urged for their evacuation. She has highlighted the critical role these workers play in Gaza's healthcare amid conflict. In New York City's Brooklyn borough, police were captured on video punching protesters at a Free Palestine rally commemorating Nakba Day. At least 2 officers in white shirts, likely commanders, were seen punching demonstrators on the ground. Independent journalists documented incidents of excessive force, including repeated punches and kicks aimed at restrained individuals. The rally, attended by hundreds, aimed to raise awareness about the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Witnesses reported heavy police presence and random arrests during the otherwise peaceful march. Similar demonstrations occurred across Europe, with thousands rallying in solidarity with Palestine, denouncing Israel's actions in Gaza. In Munich, demonstrators chanted for Palestinian freedom and the end of the Gaza genocide, holding symbolic placards representing Nakba's impact in 1948. Free Palestine demonstrations worldwide marked the 76th anniversary of Nakba Day on May 15th, urging an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and calling for governments to end relations with Israel. In Washington, D.C., protesters braved the rain near the U.S. Capitol. Nakba Day, commemorating the 1948 Palestinian catastrophe, signifies the displacement of Palestinians. More than 700,000 Palestinian Arabs, about half of mandatory Palestine's Arab population, were expelled from their homes, at first by Zionist paramilitaries and after establishment of Israel by its military. Chants like "No peace on stolen land" echoed, condemning Israeli actions. Executive Director of American Muslims for Palestine, Osama Abu Irshad, criticized U.S. funding of Israel's military. In New York, police conducted forceful arrests during protests in Bay Ridge. European cities, including London and Berlin, saw massive rallies denouncing Israeli aggression. In Munich, chants for a free Palestine filled the air, despite arrests. Vienna witnessed thousands gathering against genocide. Italy also joined in with Turin for Gaza protests. Fast food chains accused of complicity with Israel faced vandalism. Dublin, Ireland saw solidarity marches demanding a Gaza ceasefire and Irish recognition of Palestine. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, is seeking arrest warrants for several high-profile figures, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 senior leaders of Hamas. ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan has filed applications for arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant. These cite charges of persecution, starvation, denial of humanitarian supplies, and deliberate targeting of civilians. Khan says these actions are linked to events in Gaza from October 8, 2023 onwards. The specific charges include war crimes such as starvation of civilians, willful killing and attacks on civilian populations, as well as crimes against humanity. The prosecutor is also seeking warrants for Yahya Sinwar, leader of Hamas in Gaza, Mohammed Diaf, commander of Al-Qassam brigades, and Ismail Haniyeh, a Hamas political leader based in Qatar. Khan stresses that the collected evidence, including eyewitness accounts, authenticated media, and satellite imagery, indicates systematic deprivation of essential supplies to Gaza's civilian population. Israeli War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz condemned the ICC's move, calling it a distortion of justice. Senior Hamas officials argued the decision equates victims with perpetrators, potentially encouraging further violence in Gaza. The announcement has heightened tensions, with Israel threatening retaliation and Republican lawmakers in the U.S. suggesting sanctions against Khan if he proceeds. Concerns about potential arrests have been growing amongst Israeli leaders, particularly regarding travel to Europe. In the past 24 hours, Israel has killed 106 Palestinians and wounded 176 others in Gaza, according to Palestinian Health Ministry. In the Nusayrat refugee camp alone, 31 Palestinians were killed. Doctors Without Borders reports that Al-Auda Hospital near Jabaliyah has completely run out of drinking water, highlighting the dire humanitarian situation. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says more than 810,000 people have fled Rafah in the past 2 weeks. Qatar's State Minister Mohammed ibn Abdulaziz al-Khulaifi says that there are no political will on the part of Israelis for a ceasefire in Gaza. Since October 7, Israeli attacks have killed at least 35,562 Palestinians and wounded 79,652 in Gaza. Israel is accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, which has ordered Tel Aviv to ensure its forces do not commit acts of genocide. It has also asked Israel to take measures to guarantee that humanitarian assistance is provided to civilians in Gaza. Many U.S. universities are severing ties with professors supporting Palestinian liberation. Since Israel's war on Gaza began last October, academics across various disciplines have faced termination or suspension for Free-Palestine activism. Interviews by The Intercept with affected professors reveal a politically motivated suppression where advocacy against Israeli policies jeopardize their careers. Some have been teaching in their institution for decades. Some were newly hired. Some taught at private universities, others at public. Solidarity among faculty members has been witnessed, yet many affected educators remain unemployed or face uncertain futures. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott's controversial pardon of Daniel Perry. More on this after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott's controversial pardon of Daniel Perry has ignited widespread criticism. Perry was convicted for fatally shooting Black Lives Matter protester Garrett Foster. His pardon was swiftly granted after a recommendation from the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. It restores the convicted murderer's civil rights, including gun ownership. A jury voted in 2023 to convict Perry of murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He was later sentenced to 25 years in prison. Critics, including Representative Joaquin Castro and Foster's family, have denounced Governor Abbott's alliance with white nationalists, citing Perry's history of violent and racist remarks. Abbott's move drew condemnation from public officials like District Attorney Jose Garza, who accused Abbott of fostering a divided legal system. The decision, seen as politically motivated by some, undermines justice and equality, leaving Foster's family and supporters disillusioned. Abbott's prior pressure to retract a posthumous pardon recommendation for George Floyd has further fueled outrage and highlights systematic biases. George Washington University students demonstrated in support of Palestine on Sunday. This was during the graduation ceremony on the National Mall in the heart of Washington, D.C. President Joe Biden has voiced solidarity with Palestinian protesters advocating for peace. Addressing graduates at Morehouse College, Biden emphasized hearing the calls for peace and urged an immediate ceasefire to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. He pledged efforts for a two-state solution, emphasizing peace, security, and dignity. Student protests supporting Palestine have surged across campuses since April, with demands for divestment from Israel. Morehouse valedictorian D'Angelo Fletcher echoed calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, citing its long-standing impact. There were silent protests inside the convocation as well as outside. Despite UN demands, Israel has persisted in its war on Gaza. More than 2,000 people have been arrested at U.S. campuses since last month for advocating for a free Palestine. Amid the protests, the U.S. has been grappling with debates over free speech, protest rights, and accusations of anti-Semitism as Israel continues its war and increasingly being accused of genocide and war crimes against Palestinians. Israeli lobbyists are intensifying efforts to influence a Democratic primary by investing nearly $2 million to oppose Jamaal Bowman in New York's 16th congressional district race. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, Super PAC, United Democracy Project, launched ads criticizing Bowman. They accuse him of being independent-minded and allegedly unwilling to cooperate with President Joe Biden. Bowman's challenger, George Litimer, who was handpicked by AIPAC, has received nearly $1 million before AIPAC's recent injection of funds. Outside groups predominantly favoring Latimer have poured roughly $3 million into the race, dwarfing Bowman's supporters' spending at around $285,000. Latimer's campaign has also outpaced Bowman in direct contributions, accumulating $3.6 million, a portion bundled by AIPAC and supported by Republican donors. Latimer has distanced himself from GOP-hosted fundraisers, emphasizing no control over the hosts. AIPAC's influence extends further, with reports of Republicans switching parties to vote against Bowman. The primary election is set for June 25th. Palestinians gathered in the Gaza Valley region in central Gaza. They waited on the beach to receive aid from the temporary port set up by the U.S. Palestinian digital rights group Sada Social has sought an investigation into Israel's alleged exploitation of WhatsApp data to target Palestinians via its AI system, Lavender. Reports suggest Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, employ Lavender using AI to select targets in Gaza potentially based on WhatsApp data. Meta, WhatsApp's owner, faces accusations of complicity in the violence. Concerns have arisen over WhatsApp's supposed privacy as activists warn of metadata exploitation. Bahraini activist Isra al-Shafai highlights risks, emphasizing the need for Meta to scrutinize metadata use. While WhatsApp denies bulk data provisions to governments, activists stress user safety. Observers say that the issue raises questions on WhatsApp's privacy claims and Meta's responsibility in safeguarding users. Sada Social, which is affiliated with the AI Al Jazeera Media Institute and Access Now, says one of the inputs to the Lavender system relies on data collected from WhatsApp groups. Paul Bigger, founder of Tech for Palestine, says providing this data as input for Lavender undermines the claim that WhatsApp is a private messaging app. Journalist Mark Owen Jones has said informants captured devices and spyware could be used by Israel to gain Palestinian users' WhatsApp data. A helicopter crash in Iran's mountainous East Azerbaijan province killed Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and 8 others aboard, including Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian. The helicopter lost in fog on Sunday was located with the assistance of a Turkish unmanned aerial vehicle on Monday morning. A Turkish drone detected a heat source confirming the crash site. Raisi, along with his delegation, was traveling near the city of Jolfa, close to the Azerbaijani border, when their helicopter went missing. This crash triggered a massive search operation hampered by dense fog. The sudden death of Raisi has propelled Iran into a period of uncertainty. With Vice President Mohammad Mokhber assuming a presidential duties temporarily, Iran must now prepare for elections within 50 days. This transition occurs amid intense domestic and foreign policy challenges, including ongoing tensions with Western nations and the recent restoration of relations with Saudi Arabia. Raisi's presidency, marked by his conservative governance and controversial past, particularly his alleged involvement in mass executions during 1988, has both seen criticism and notable diplomatic achievements. His efforts led to a recent reconciliation with Saudi Arabia, affecting regional dynamics positively and easing tensions temporarily. With 18 more casualties, the death toll from heavy rains and floods in Afghanistan has reached 400. Authorities say at least 18 people were killed in the floods in Faryab province on East Turkmenistan's border of Afghanistan. Faryab government spokesperson Ismetullah Murad told Kabul-based Tolo News more than 4,000 acres of agricultural land have been damaged and over 1,000 houses destroyed, and more than 300 animals have been killed. At least 50 people were killed and dozens were missing due to floods caused by heavy rains in Ghor province. Last week, heavy floods in northern Afghanistan, primarily in Baghlan, Badakhshan, and Takhar provinces, resulted in severe losses. In Afghanistan, the melting of snow during winter months due to rising temperatures, coupled with heavy rains and inadequate infrastructure, led to floods. Hundreds of people die each year in the country due to these disasters. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed now more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting Muslim Network TV/donate. And for more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.